had a question for you, actually.
Sure.
I have a few questions for you.
If I can answer it, I will. So
different than tech, but it's a Tesla focused question, and I've been getting this question a lot from family, from friends, and online. Do you think consumers should separate Elon from Tesla in their minds, or should they not? Are they intertwined as kind of one entity?
I mean, I don't think they're, and this is just Kevin's personal opinion. Yeah. I don't necessarily see them as one and the same. But I feel like he is probably, whether you listen to him on, like Lex Friedman or Joe, or and I know these things, and you get a chance to like hear him talk for quite a while about things. I think he provides in some ways an immense amount of air cover, right? If you want to be risky and push change through, like when we'll talk about like the Cybertruck and its like aesthetics maybe a little bit later, but like that made it to production, right? That made it to production. So, and it's because of him. And I'm not even saying about like the level of work, that's everyone else, right? But someone had to sign off on that, right? Like I have friends that are designers at, Ford and other places. And, when the Cybertruck released, like I was talking with them and they're all like, because it completely is not their target market. Like I think they were more concerned about if it came out and it looked like a rebadged F-150, they probably would have like, had a huge concern, but they saw it and it's so different. They're like, okay, we know what a lot of our customers, we have a lot of data about what our customers like and things of that nature. But I guess that's what I see as him being an enabler. But I think, obviously he makes, a lot of different statements and things of that nature. I think he's a key enabler at Tesla. But I think if you are underpinning whether you should buy a Tesla, from him because of him, I think you're discrediting and I don't know how many people off the top of my head work for Tesla, but thousands of people who put a lot of effort into it. And if you value what, like Tesla has done, and I think the reason, they've been able to kind of slash prices and things of that nature has been integration and efficiency gains, because and then essentially shorting to ground various other, we'll say, profit centers and markups that some other OEMs are still struggling with. You need top cover in order to do that. And I think there's that aspect, and maybe he can bring a protege on, and since the company's already willing to kind of work in that way, it might be, I don't want to say easy to replace him, but a second in command or whoever it is that, hey, this is my philosophy, I'm checking out, I'm going to Mars, the reins are all yours, congratulations. I do think it's a little disingenuous to like completely tie him to it, because there's so many people that work on them that make them what they are, for better or for worse.
So the question of people who said, I love Elon, I will only buy a Tesla, and the people who say, I hate Elon, I will not buy a Tesla because of him. Both of those camps should separate the man from the product?
I think so, a little bit, right? Like it's hard for me to know for sure. But with a lot of our customers, there's just a lot of hoops to get through at times, and there's a lot of processes, and there's a lot of, meetings and things of that nature. Eric and I were just talking about this. And there's times where we'll be talking, they'll be talking about something and I'm just like, I can't believe we've spent this much time talking about a cost savings idea that's worth so little,
Yeah.
There's a lot of people here. I don't know what the average salary in this meeting is, but I'm looking at the attendee list and I'm like, all right. The dollar per hour is ticking, here. So, yeah, I guess in short, I think you're right. Right. It's a little disingenuous on both those camps. I'd argue though, if you can separate the, we'll say like I don't say non-value added, the non-Tesla specific like comments, conversations, or whatever that is from the man, I think it's not necessarily a bad idea to credit him for making Tesla what it is, right? And giving that air cover, and you could argue that it's not a great work environment or anything like that, but providing the foundation and that top cover to enable an environment to move as fast as it does.
Absolutely agree. I think I love talking about Elon specifically because there's never been a character as polarizing, I think, especially recently. And it's just so interesting to see somebody that's done so much be so polarizing. I actually have a story to share. I don't think I've actually ever shared this story on any video or podcast. Now, this is a story that was told to me from somebody, so take it with a gigantic grain of salt. I know this is not where you thought this podcast was going to go, but here's the soundbite. So I have a colleague, a friend of a friend, who I spoke to, and this person was employee at Tesla under 100. So they were real early in the Tesla days. They now work under Elon at SpaceX. And this was right before the Twitter acquisition, was when we sort of had these conversations. And he said, listen, I haven't talked to Elon in a while. He doesn't work directly with him anymore. He's like, so I don't know. He says, but in my years of working with him, there are two things he cares about: getting to Mars and people driving electric cars. Anything else that he does or says is just to push one of those two things. And this is where I got a laugh out of it. And this is just a funny story. He's like, listen, again, I don't know, but if you look at who was buying Teslas on the political spectrum, you had most people on the left were buying Teslas. It says, I imagine Elon looked at that and was like, how do I get the folks on the right to buy Teslas too? And it's like, and that's when you saw kind of a more political Elon. It was just a real funny antidote. I don't know if it has any modicum of truth to it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, there's definitely correlations, right? You could, I imagine if you asked one of the AIs to kind of like put together a collage of images of, those who vote one way to the other, you'll see like, a Cummins with a deleted exhaust rolling coal, and then, a Nissan Leaf or something like that. So on the opposite end of that spectrum. But yeah, it is interesting. Unfortunately, I mean, politics drives everything, but I feel like there's not enough nuance in the conversation about it, and people aren't really, personally, like one thing I love about Munro is like, there's people from all sorts of backgrounds here. There's nothing that's like kind of like off bounds for conversations. Like the coffee room conversations are interesting here, for sure. And you never feel like there's a kind of like a chilling effect on speech, really, with respect to that. And you get interesting perspectives, and you're able to kind of work through, preconceived notions and things of that nature. So I think it's kind of interesting, but it's unfortunate because you don't see that more in general, like throughout, I think, normal discourse. But what I'm making is I think when you actually like talk to somebody, it's easy in some ways to find common ground. It's like when it's remote and detached, that's when things get kind of heated, and you have kind of like the camps and the trenches are dug and stuff like that. So.
But anyway, I know I zigged and zagged very far.
That's okay.
From your original line of questioning.